All right, guys, for this week's Award Watch, I wanted to talk about a player that's getting me very excited for the future of the New York Knicks, and I think has a major claim to the MVP award so far this season, and that's Kristaps Porzingis. He's been incredible this year, and we're going to talk a little bit about why I think he's not just been incredible, but might be the most valuable player in the NBA. Last time we talked about James Harden, who is having an incredible season as well, who's doing things similar to Kristaps in improving his percentages and his points and everything all across the board. But as I thought about it the last 2 weeks about James Harden and Kristaps Porzingis, I think what Kristaps Porzingis is doing is a little bit more impressive than what Harden is doing. So Kristaps Porzingis loses Carmelo Anthony, which might have seemed like something that could have kind of exposed Kristaps. So when the Knicks have Carmelo Anthony, he's the guy that the defense is going to go out and try to stop, going to focus on, and Kristaps is kind of that secondary option. And so Kristaps, this season, there's no more Carmelo Anthony. Kristaps is the man, and he is the guy that teams are going to focus on to try to stop. And instead of Kristaps kind of floundering or spinning his wheels in his production, he's gone up at an insane level, which is incredible. So for example, last season with Carmelo Anthony as the main guy, giving Kristaps probably more open shots, easier looks because he's a secondary option, he was scoring 18 points a game last season. This season, he's scoring 27 points a game, and I think earlier in the year he was at 30. So Kristaps is doing things that are remarkable, showing that he is a legit superstar, number one option that teams are gunning for, and he's still scoring. So that right there, that shows Knicks fans, you got to be excited because you know you've got a legit star. Because he's not only doing this, he's not only upping his percentages, but it's his first year really as the number one guy. So I cover the Utah Jazz for SLC Dunk, part of SB Nation, and I watched Gordon Hayward for 7 years, and the biggest problem Gordon Hayward had is when he became the number one option, he really struggled. His percentages went down. His three-point percentage went down. His field goal percentage went down. He struggled because he was the number one option, and it took him years to get to where he was and to become kind of the secondary option for Boston when he comes back. Kristaps is the opposite. Kristaps is the number one option, and not only is he the number one option, he is just flourishing, where the offense flows through him, and he's just incredible. So 27 points a game. Last year he was scoring 18. Guys, that's not normal. That is not the norm. This is the stuff that superstars do, not the average player. 27 points a game. His field goal percentage, 49% from the field, stays the same at 49%. And let's see, his three-point percentage has actually gone up. So he was shooting 35% last season from three. This season, he's shooting 39% from three. He's the number one guy. They're sending their best options to guard him. And this is why, Knicks fans, you guys got to be so excited. I hope you guys... There are so many teams that would give anything to have this player on their team. What Kristaps is doing is remarkable. So he's going out there and he's the number one option, scores at will. No one can stop him. So once the Knicks finally get rid of some of these contracts that Phil Jackson kind of hampered you with a little bit, like the Joakim Noah contract, when you guys get some guys that can complement Kristaps, Knicks fans, you are going to be very, very, very good. Because you got your legit superstar, the thing that every team is trying to get every single year in the draft or somehow in the trade or somehow find, you have him. You have your guy. And now you just got to put guys around him. But kind of going back to what we talked about before with James Harden and Kristaps Porzingis, James Harden has better talent around him. So he's got Eric Gordon, 40% three-point shooter, fantastic player, having a great season, partially because of Harden, but also he's playing fantastic. You've got Ryan Anderson, who's a 40% three-point shooter, spreads the floor incredibly for Harden, makes things just easier for him to operate. And then you've got other players like Trevor Ariza and other players around James Harden that are fantastic NBA role players that just make his job incredibly, not easy, but just make it more possible for James Harden to flourish like he has. Who's surrounding Kristaps that's really going to turn the needle for any other team? I mean, you got Hardaway, who's actually played very well this year. He got that contract that kind of raised eyebrows, but he's kind of living up to it. He's scoring pretty well, and he spreads the floor for Kristaps. But you've got Ntilikina, who I also like, but I don't know if Ntilikina in his rookie year, who's kind of a defensive specialist, is really spreading that floor for Kristaps. So Kristaps is doing this with a rookie point guard with Hardaway, and you've got Enes Kanter, who's not really a floor spreader, but he does do well on offensive boards. But is that spreading the floor for? I don't know. And it could be that teams are kind of playing off Kristaps to kind of guard Kanter because Kanter's offensive rebounding is really good. But man, those are not options that are really going to ease things on Kristaps. And the point of this is that Kristaps is doing this stuff regardless. So what that means is Kristaps might be the MVP because it shows that Kristaps could be doing this for any team in the NBA. It's incredible. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is something with Knicks fans might be familiar with. So Knicks fans are kind of familiar with kind of starting off hot and fizzling. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Knicks from here on out, but they're 10-7 right now. And I don't know if anyone predicted that, getting rid of Carmelo Anthony, bringing in Kanter and a second-round pick and Doug McDermott. I don't know if anyone was expecting that to really improve the team. It's really all been Kristaps Porzingis just becoming a superstar this year. And honestly, in my opinion, he might be top 5. It's so hard these days. There's so much talent in the NBA. And for Kristaps Porzingis to flourish like he has with all this talent in the NBA, for sure a top 10 player. Absolutely. Anyone who doesn't say top 10 for Kristaps is not watching the game and not watching Kristaps play. He's almost unguardable. And that's part of why he's flourishing so well. I mean, how do you guard a guy who's 7'2", has range for days, can pull up at any point on the floor? It's just not something you can guard. And so the Knicks, not only do you have a player that's going to help you get into the playoffs, because you're going to be a playoff team this year, Knicks fans. Kristaps is that good. I mean, the only thing keeping you back is if Kristaps gets hurt, and let's just hope that doesn't happen, because Kristaps is he's a treasure for you guys. But he's going to be able to score for you in the playoffs because he's unguardable. 7'2", he's got that high release, and he scores. It's 39% from 3. And he could be he's probably your center, because he's not just doing this stuff on offense too. He's also a rim protector. So one of the most important positions in the NBA, the rim protecting center, he's giving that to you too. I can't tell you, Knicks, how jealous I am of you to have this player on your team. So as someone who covers the Utah Jazz, I cover our best player is Rudy Gobert. And he makes just an insane difference on the floor by protecting that rim. And the whole defense the opposing team's offense has to completely alter itself to kind of make up for the fact that they're inside. They're just not going to be able to score inside on Rudy Gobert. Kristaps can bring that as well. That's what is so remarkable about Kristaps Porzingis, is his ability to protect the rim, to block shots, to make players think twice about going at the rim against this guy who Kristaps Porzingis is blocking 2.3 blocks per game. So 2.3 blocks per game from Kristaps means that other teams are aware of him at the rim, are trying to avoid him at the rim, and he's still affecting those shots. So there's a reason the Knicks are 10-7, and his name is Kristaps, and he's incredible. And I really think that if the Knicks can make the playoffs this year, if they get like a 5 or 6 seed or something, there is no doubt in my mind that Kristaps Porzingis deserves serious consideration for MVP and should win the MVP. Because he's incredible. He's making a Knicks franchise who has struggled and just not have found a way to kind of flourish. He's, except for Linsanity and the year they made the playoffs a few years back, but other than that, they've really just struggled. And Kristaps is bringing light to this Knicks franchise, giving Knicks fans something to be excited about. I'm happy for you, Knicks fans. You've got yourself the superstar you've needed. If you can find ways with your new management to kind of build the right role players around Kristaps. I think you did a great job getting Ntilikina. He's going to be a great complement to Kristaps. And if you can find some other pieces, some high-level talent that can complement Kristaps' games, you're going to be very well. You're going to make the playoffs, and you probably have an MVP on your candidate. Congrats to you, Knicks fans. You've got a great one. All right, everyone, make sure to like and subscribe. Go to SLC Dunk to read more and read about all our different awards we're giving out and this week's awards watch. Talk to you later.